Many of you know Michael Jackson from Aunt Katie's Community Gardens, but did you know Michael was an owner and CEO of a $100 million+ business? Specialized Services in Southfield, Michigan was selected by Black Enterprise magazine as one of the top 100 companies in the industrial and service sectors for several years in a row. Let's listen to Michael as he speaks to the Dothan Area Chamber of Commerce in 1999.
While I was doing my travels, I was contacted by a tire dealer. Tire dealer asked me, "I'd like to do business with the big three. You're in Detroit. Can you help me out?" "I don't know, but if you'll pay me a fee, I'll find out." So I went back to Detroit, started making some phone calls. You call up GM and you say, "Does GM do business with tire dealers?" And the switchboard operator gives you to her next logical choice. So you run into a lot of dead ends when you research that way, but it was the only way to do it. Eventually, I contacted someone at Ford who referred me to an area called Damaged Vehicle Operations. Do you do business with tire dealers?" "Yes, we do." Quick-witted as I am, I said, "I'd like to come in and talk with you about an idea I have about doing business with tire dealers that could save you money." Hey, it rang a bell. "Come on in." I ended up meeting with a very low-level person within Ford, not in management. I think he was probably grade level 6 or 7. You're not management at Ford unless you're a 10 or above. I went in and talked with him and I said, "How do you work with tire dealers?" Now, you got to realize I was kind of winging it at this point, and I was, trying to make something happen out of nothing. So he told me how they work with tire dealers. As the vehicles are distributed from the factory to the destination dealer, they are loaded on rail cars, and in this particular area, they're distributed to Birmingham, Atlanta, Jacksonville, a little bit of Mobile now because of export-import, New Orleans. But all of the vehicles that are Fords that enter into this marketplace come through Birmingham. So when the vehicle gets to Birmingham, just to bring it close to home to you, a company called Allied Systems loads the vehicle onto their trucks and brings it down to Bondi's Ford. Now, if that vehicle won't start or it has a flat tire, that organization calls one of my contracted representatives to repair or replace that tire. At this point, we started in 1988 on a trial basis. It wasn't so much that I was a minority firm, people. It was the fact that I had a good idea. So they let me start on a trial basis with 5 locations. And over the ensuing years, we built up to doing 15, 30, 40 locations. There's roughly 70 points of distribution for vehicles in the United States that Ford uses. After we had gotten all of the U.S. locations wrapped up, the only place to go was Canada. So we then organized all of the operatives in Canada. So right now, my firm is responsible for all no starts and flat tires between the factory and destination dealer for Ford Motor Company. That was our first success story. That allowed us to demonstrate that we could be good managers, that we were good communicators, that we were someone that could be counted on. That opportunity led to another opportunity in 1991. A number of key minority trucking firms that are tier 1 suppliers to Ford, that means they have their own direct contract with Ford to deliver parts to the factories or to deliver vehicles to the destination dealers, approached Ford and said, "Look, we're having problems being competitive in our pricing because we're such small firms compared to the larger ones. We can't buy with the same wherewithal or the same buying power. Can Ford help us develop a buying group to assist us in buying commodities?" Ford came back and said, "Well, what commodities are you talking about?" "Fuel, long distance phone service, insurance, tires, equipment." So while I was sitting with someone at Ford, that individual, and talk about timing again, the individual said, Mike, you sell Ford tires directly. We just have a request from this group saying they want to be organized into a buying group. Can you sell them tires? And here's the list of commodities that they're interested in. And I got that list and went to my management consultant, and we put together a little plan and came back and said, yeah, we can do this. We can be your management arm in this particular case to put together these commodities. But us being so small at the time, we said, look, you got 12 commodities, but we can only really start with one of these. Which one would make the most sense? The trucking firms chose fuel in 1991, 92. We worked with those trucking firms from 91 to 94 in terms of trying to get them together as a group until we were able to put together financing for my firm to grow just a little bit larger. And we bought our first gallon of fuel over the road for these trucking firms in December of 1994. Today, we are buying about 850,000 gallons of diesel fuel over the road for these trucking firms. I did have, I know you can't see this, but this is I don't know if for those of you in the transportation industry, you may have heard of a company called Comdata in Nashville. They are a fleet provider of card purchase systems that are accepted at truck stops. We have about 5,000 or 6,000 of these cards in the hands of truck drivers for about 8 or 9 trucking firms that are key suppliers to Ford that we negotiate their fuel. And based on that buying power, we're able to make a better deal than they can for the fuel that they're buying. So we are able, that has been a very good revenue generating type of opportunity for us. After that, about 1997, we always wanted to use the clout of Ford Motor Company in our negotiations with the various sources for fuel. But Ford wasn't in the party. In 1997, we were able to convince one of the directors of raw material procurement to commit to allowing us to build a relationship with BP, with Amoco Oil. And from 1997 to date, we have been delivering the initial fill gasoline to 11 Ford plants that goes into the vehicles as they go through the production line. But that's what I do. We are a target for outsourced administrative services. And because of that, we have developed some computer expertise. So when I take over a process for a customer, I don't need to take it over and have as many employees as he has. I try to engineer a piece of software that will allow me to do the process electronically, and therefore I can be very competitive. So I'm making money on pennies and nickels, but mostly pennies. I don't even get to dimes yet, because fuel is a very, very expensive, a very, very tight margin commodity. And we have developed a very interesting business model that is very unique in the marketplace. Today's business model is that, okay, I take some money, I buy some assets, and I say, world, I build it, come on in. That is a business model that is failing today. Major corporations have been trying to figure out how to change that, but the model that works today is you do your research to determine what the customer wants. You determine what resources need to be acquired. You then finance it, and then you go to work. And then you have to re-engineer it every 5 years, or otherwise you're out of business. And I'm not certain, because we didn't talk, Joe and David, as to the direction that you wanted me to talk, but we can talk about my business, but we can also talk about how to go into business. So I'm going to try to move away from my business. I guess the biggest tribute for my organization has been, at this point, was, and I think this is what caused Joe to kind of invite me down, in the latest Black Enterprise, my firm was number 48 in terms of sales of the largest black firms in America. Now, that's beautiful. That is great. But you know, I had been avoiding submitting a profile over the years. Do you know why? The reason is it's a great trophy, but it doesn't mean much. When you take all of the firms that are listed in that book, the 100 car dealers, the 100 Dave Bings and Earl Graves that are in the business and service sector, all the banks, all the ad agencies, all the investment bankers, you come up with $14 billion for all of them. The largest black businesses in America. EDS, one firm, did $14 billion by itself. All of these firms that are large black firms only employed 70,000 people. Now, how many of us are there? So I got something to be proud of, but we got a lot of work to do. There's a need for a new kind of commitment. When you decide you want to go into business, the first thing you got to do is, you got to have an idea. But that's great. But the first thing you got to do is know yourself. And why do you want to go into business? Now, do you want to be a business leader? Now, I kind of have a slant toward doing some things myself that kind of makes me want to be on the cutting edge and makes me want to really work hard, because that's what I'm doing at this point. But if you decide you want to go into business, you might decide you just want to make a certain amount of money. You want to take care of your family. And that is the beginning of what you have to do. What do you want to do? What kind of business do you want to do, and why do you want to go into business? Know your personal strengths and your weaknesses, because you want to build a business around your strengths. And if you realize that you have a weakness, you're going to have a partner to fill that. I have been blessed with a good partner. I'm good at selling. I'm good at administration. But when you talk about me going out and talking to that tire dealer and telling him how to run a cable, after it's been cut, or how he wants to install the technical side of it, that's not my thing. My partner is great at that. Look at the people you know. Look for professionals. Look for the person who seems to know the things that you need to know about. Legal, accounting. Have a plan. And a plan starts by keeping a business journal. Whenever you think about that business plan that you have, just make a note. That becomes the foundation of your business plan. It gives you focus. Focus fosters or germinates ideas. Ideas will isolate the niches that the marketplace will be willing to allow you to make a profit doing. The new concept in business is you want to go into a business that your marketplace will graciously allow you to make a profit doing it.
Now you know more about Michael Jackson and his career before Aunt Katie's Community Gardens. Thanks for watching the Wiregrass Black History Channel.